For 7 years, you're in a dark tunnel and you see zero light. The difference of 60 days was personally being bankrupt to selling the company for $1.15 billion.
You went on Shark Tank in 2013.
I literally drove there and I'm like, I'm going to do my thing. Mark Cuban's going to just be like, Jamie, here's the money.
I just don't see the progression. And for that reason, I'm out.
I left there like in shambles, sort of crying in bed. I remember showing them the first store I bought. One person like literally just laughing and saying, that's the ugliest thing I've ever seen. Ended up working out.
So what was it like for you coming back from that rejection?
For me, like that running is that reset. You get back up and you just like put your shoes on and you go back out and go for another run the next day.
Did you have any regrets? Jamie Siminoff, welcome to Post Run High.
Thanks for having me, Kate.
I'm so excited for you to be here. We just ran 3 miles through West Hollywood. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I love a run. I love a post run high too.
I know. Do you feel the high?
I do. I if you run enough, for sure. And that's why, why I love to run every day probably.
Jamie runs 3 to 4 miles a day. I loved finding that out about you. I love knowing when successful people enjoy running. And I feel like it's more common than you'd think.
I think it's common that successful people have something that they have to do to get like the energy out of this other stuff we do during the day. And so running, for me, running is that. For some people, it's like weightlifting. I mean, there's all different things, but yeah, for me, like that running is that reset that I kind of need every day to sort of stay like a human.
Yeah. And Jamie was telling me that he's been a runner since high school. You did cross country.
I did.
We're similar in that way. We're both from New Jersey. So Shout out to Jersey cross country.
Jersey strong.
Yeah. And, Jersey cross country is hard, especially for the boys.
Jersey cross country. I mean, you also have a lot of weather. Like, it's like we're so lucky here in California. It rained the last couple of days, but that's so rare here. But yeah, in Jersey, it's like you're running through snow and sleet and rain and just like it is pretty rough.
I was going to say cross country is the one sport that even if it's snowing, the race is not getting canceled. And I learned that the hard way in high school.
Yeah, the show must go on with cross country in New Jersey.
So you took running into your 20s, into your 30s. Like you have been a runner for life ever since kind of starting in high school.
Yeah, and probably even like in middle school, I did lacrosse, and I was terrible at lacrosse. But the one thing I could do was like outrun. I mean, if you're bad at something, like I can just try harder. And so like running, hustling was the way that I was able to sort of be someone that helped the team without having like the stick handling skills and the things that I just definitely was not born with.
Yeah, I was a lacrosse player too. Actually, my whole family was like lacrosse family in Jersey, which is also very competitive.
Yeah, lacrosse in Jersey is like yeah.
Lacrosse, hockey.
It's like basketball in Indiana. Like it's our thing.
Yeah. So how many miles a week would you say you're running now? If you're running 3 to 4 miles a day?
I probably average, I would say probably like 6 to 6.5 days a week. I mean, if I'm traveling on a day or something happens, like I can't obviously run.
Yeah.
But I don't do any down days. So if I'm here all week, I will run literally every day. I have a bit of a funny schedule because I go into the office around 8 o'clock and I find that my brain around 1:30, 2 o'clock is just done. Like I've like maxed it out. Too many decisions, too many things have happened. And I'm not as good. So I usually leave the office around 2, go for a run, and then I'll work kind of like mixed into stuff with family and dinner and stuff. But I'll basically work like the night, a couple hours here and there. Get on the laptop or something, but I have to sort of take a break midday for a run.
Yeah, I honestly feel like if you have the flexibility to do that, I think running midday is like the best time to run. I've tried leaning into becoming more of like a morning runner to get it out of the way early, but sometimes it makes me really tired.
I can't. Yeah, I know people that get up at like 5 a.m. and work out, and that's their thing for the whole day. I can't do it. I actually like to wake up like on the phone, doing work, getting things done. And then I hit this just like this after, it's not even really after lunch, but it is this like midday kind of end of day, like 1, 2 o'clock, I'm toast.
How would you say running has helped you in your career?
I mean, it's allowed me to, I'd say like max myself out in business. I think, the stress of building stuff, the amount of decisions that you have to make when you're an entrepreneur and building a company. I mean, Ring went so fast, 3 million, 30 million. 170, 480. So that was like in a 4-year period, we went from 3 million to $480 million in revenue. While that's happening, the decisions, the stress, all these things, and running was the outlet that I could sort of do to control, to, try to keep myself balanced. And I also, and also healthy through it. I mean, a lot of people they turn to other things that are bad. You don't have the right habits. You start eating, poorly. If you're a runner, you're not going to eat poorly. You're not going to drink that much because, if you drink too much, you're going to like not want to run. And so I think running does keep you balanced. It's been a great trick.
Yeah, and I feel like running also is something that teaches you a lot of discipline. And I've had a lot of founders and CEOs come on the show and say that they love hiring runners. How do you feel about hiring runners to work for you?
So we always had the metaphor that we used was we wanted to hire marathoners. And what I meant by that is not just runners, but I want someone, to me, a marathon is the stupidest thing any human could ever do. And when you think about it, I've done 2. You've done
3.
Yeah, so we're both pretty stupid. But if you think about it, what a stupid thing. You basically train for over half a year. So almost a year you train for this thing. You go out in the morning, at night, you're running alone. And then when you do the actual thing, you finish I finished in the Boston Marathon 20th thousandth place. And so here I worked all this time to finish, not even anywhere anyone could see it. And I was so proud of myself. And so I think if you can find the people that are willing to work hard and be proud of what they did. So when you run a marathon, you're proud of what you accomplished. And so if people can be proud of what they accomplished, then they're so good in a team because they're not trying to be the number one person. They're not trying to get all the limelight. They're excited about what they're adding to the team. And you put a team of marathoners together and you get Ring.
You get right. Exactly. And I also think the thing with running too is running is something, and we talked about this on the run, where consistency compounds, where it's not something you have to be the most athletic to do, but if you just put the time in, you can get better at it. And I think that that's a nice analogy to Ring because you guys, Ring wasn't an overnight success. It was
Not at all.
It was something you guys built for a little over a decade, right? And then eventually it hit.
And I think that's when you really go through almost every business, every successful, even influencer, it's like you see the success. And so you think that's when it happened. And then you go back and you realize they started 10, 15, 20, it's been their whole life that they're working up to this. And you're right. It's the same thing with running is you just grind it out. And it's not, going for a run when it's raining or, it's hard. And so I think being consistent and grinding it out, that mentality is exactly what translates into business. Because not every day, building Ring, it wasn't glorious every day. It wasn't accolades. We weren't sure we were going to make it. And so I think that's where entrepreneurs and people saying, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. It's entrepreneur is tough. It's tough to build a business. And so you want to find and surround yourself with people that are gritty and willing to stick it out. Yeah.
When you say that it's tough and it's a lot of uncertainty in building a business, what was the uncertainty that you guys were facing when you were building Ring, and how did you mentally get through that?
So, we sold it in the end for $1 billion. And I think when you do that, and then people look at how long you're in it. So let's say it was 7 years. It's so I have to work 7 years to make $1 billion. It's no, for 7 years, you're in a dark tunnel and you see zero light. And you just keep every day, you keep pushing forward, but you don't know it's ever going to work. And honestly, most of the time, there was so many times we almost aced the thing into the ground, even right before we sold. And so what the hardest part is how do you keep going every day when you don't know that the finish line actually exists, when you don't know that you're going to make it? You keep trying to push forward, but a lot of times you don't even know if you're really getting forward. You don't know if you're going to make it. And I think that's the toughest part about a business is we usually do the study on a business looking backwards when it already had its success. But when you're in it, you don't know if it's going to be another year or 2 years. You don't know, it's like a Hollywood actor. They don't know when they're going to blow up. Once they blew up, it's all I had to do was 10 movies and the 11th worked. Well, they didn't know even on the 10th movie that was going to work.
Right. And I feel like it kind of relates back to I was listening to a bit of your story and how you said, you were always somebody that loved inventing things, right? You went into the garage and you loved building things with your hands. You loved growing up working on cars, right? I think what's interesting there too is it's even with Ring, you never probably knew that was going to be the product for you. That was the end all be all, right? Because you could have discovered another product along the way while developing Ring.
Yeah, and what really with Ring, what became the difference for Ring versus everything else I had worked on, because I was kind of a serial entrepreneur, is I figured out that this mission of making neighborhoods safer, that all of the way people were building home security at that time was kind of based on old technology, on old thinking, and that new technology had happened and no one had evolved sort of residential neighborhood security. proactive security. So all of a sudden now with a phone, you could answer the door when you weren't here and make it like you had presence at the home, which would stop burglaries. And so all these things you could do like no one had thought of. And with Ring, what made it so big is that we realized that we could rebuild everything around home security. And that's kind of been this now like lifelong mission of making neighborhoods safer, which we've gone and built, floodlight cameras and all these other things, not just the doorbell.
Yeah, and my husband is a massive user of Ring. I can't wait for you to check out his Ring profile because he has Airbnb properties and he has, Jeremy, how many Ring cameras do you have? Like 20?
Let me open the app.
I have one. I use it in my living room. I actually bought 3 to set up all over my house. And Jeremy was like, this is really creepy, Kate. You can only have one. I'm only allowing you to have a Ring camera in the living room.
And I mean, we have it's funny. We have lots of customers. We call our customers neighbors that love the indoor cameras for different things. I'm an outdoor camera Ring person. Okay. So in our house, it's all outdoor.
Yeah, throw that to me. I got it all. There
all
it
right.
is.
Good catch.
You can kind of scroll through it.
There we go. Look at that. Oh, that's a good Ring customer.
It just keeps on scrolling.
That's a great Ring neighbor.
Okay, I'm scared.
If anybody needs their dog, I got them.
There we go.
No, Jeremy is a massive Ring customer. When you were noodling on the idea of Ring, and I want you to kind of tell us also the story of how the idea came to you and what you were actually building at the time that you discovered your first Ring camera. But when you were noodling on this idea and invented it and kind of looked into the market, I'm sure, to see like, does this exist yet? Were you shocked to find out that it didn't?
Well, that's the thing. So I was in my garage. I was working on a thing called Snap Garden and a thing called, which was like a gardening system, a thing called Pokety Poke, which would call you for your conference call. So I had all these I was like kind of trying to incubate ideas in the garage, couldn't hear the doorbell, had just gotten an iPhone. And I literally was like, there must be a Wi-Fi doorbell that goes to my iPhone. I can't hear the doorbell. And I looked online and there was nothing. And it's funny, I wasn't even like shocked. It was more like, oh, I'll just build it. And so I hacked up a camera with a Wi-Fi thing and like a little button, put it on the front door. And then my wife was the first one. I was like, this is awesome. This makes me feel safer at home, which was a surprise because it was a kind of a gadget, not meant to transform the home. And then everyone that would stop by, and this thing was super ugly and big and like grotesque that I just built and hacked up in my garage. And everyone's like, this thing's amazing. And so all of a sudden it was this, so it wasn't like an aha moment, but it was like a slow burn of ahas where people kept saying it, I was using it. And then it was my wife saying it makes her feel safer that I realized, wait a second, like this is a different way of doing home security. And that's really what I'll say like the aha is that it was towards like, we can do security in a totally different way with these devices.
Yeah, because before that, it was only the kind of security devices that were super fancy, had to be basically wired in, right? That you'd use that.
Expensive, wired in, didn't really go to your phone. I mean, they're all built sort of pre-phone. And again, I got kind of lucky that I started in it with the phone. So I came like phone first. And once you attached, people, we call it always home. Like that's our tagline. Like once you attach people to their homes, like it actually, just that itself makes things safer. And then the other thing that we did differently is I've always looked at it as like we call our customers neighbors. And we've always looked at the neighborhood as our customer, not the actual physical home. So like when we ran, I kept saying like ring, ring, it's like the rings all over. But even like the house next door to the Ring, I look at them as like our customer, as our neighbor, just as much as the person who like sort of gave us the transactional dollars for it, because we're there to secure the whole neighborhood. Like you don't live in your home, you live in your neighborhood. Like we went for a run. Like we want the whole neighborhood to be nice. We don't want just like our home. And so what I love with Ring is like putting things together in a way where each individual person can sort of buy and control their cameras and their devices and their information, but then together we can have a safer neighborhood and do things in the neighborhood that are better.
I love that perspective because it is so true. And I'm sure there's been so many instances of crimes that Ring has helped solve, not for the homeowner, but for literally the neighborhood or the surrounding area.
Yeah, I mean, like the first thing we found out when we started putting Rings out there and doing like little studies of crime is that if a neighborhood had more than some percentage of Rings, call it like 10% or 20% of Rings, burglars wanted to find they wanted to find an area where there was homes that all of them were vacant. Like they didn't want anyone in the homes to look around. So they weren't gonna like burglarize a house in the middle if they thought there was people in both sides. They wanted like an empty area of a neighborhood. And so when they get a Ring and someone would say, oh, hi, they realize they were on camera now, they would leave the neighborhood. And so we did like realize from that, and we just keep doing stuff since then, to try to like help like we want to reduce crime in neighborhoods, not just our customers' homes.
When you say that you were a serial entrepreneur, what were you doing before Ring to make money?
Yeah, so I'd gotten fortunate. I did like a little telecom business with phone cards. So I'd done like a few, but they were all like very little businesses. I kind of spun things up. I did a thing called Phone Tag that was voicemail to text that was kind of a mildly successful, but they were all, I'd say, mildly successful and didn't like take off. Good ideas, but they just didn't have that, like they were the doorbell without the mission. It's like they were like a little pointed something. Cause again, I was an inventor. So I kept inventing these things, but you needed something bigger to build like a business from. And that's where Ring, again, having this mission to make neighborhoods safer, that broadened this to really, and that is like the mission to make neighborhoods safer is what led to Ring being the largest home security company in the world. If I had said, we're going to build the best doorbells in the world, we'd be probably a small video doorbell maker competing with hundreds of others and be a normal sort of business that maybe would have been like, okay, but I probably would have been looking for my next serial entrepreneur thing from there.
Right. And it seems like you tapped into, as like an inventor and somebody that was, trying to build the thing that was going to be it for you. Like you were interested in like from gardening to tapping into conference phone calls. Like these are to Ring cameras. Like there's such different sectors that you were building. It's interesting. Like it'd be funny just to be like a fly inside your brain a little bit.
Well, it would be interesting and also torturing. But it's but I think what's really drives me is I find like fixing problems. Like I love fixing problems, and I think a real inventor to me, like that's what an inventor does. Is like, so that's the difference between call it an inventor and an entrepreneur. Like an entrepreneur is someone who's trying to build a business. An inventor is someone who's literally just trying to fix problems. They don't care about the financial sort of gain from that problem, whether it's a big problem or a little problem. What I got lucky, and as an inventor, the thing that makes you so happy is you want to affect, you want to sort of have like, make a difference in the world. And so you have to do that by scale. And so a business helps you with that. So with Ring, what I got lucky with is that I'm able to do it at scale and actually really launch a new product like we did with the dog search party. And instead of it being like an idea, now it goes and we're returning, a dog a day to their homes.
We talked about the dog search party on our run, but for people listening that haven't seen the run yet, can you just re-explain to us what the dog search party is?
So there's millions of dogs literally go missing every year in the US alone. It's crazy. And so it's families basically missing a family member. I mean, like it goes missing. And until we launched this, the best technology we had to look for a dog was to get in your car, drive around and yell for it. And it's a family member. So what we did is we created this thing where now anyone can post in the Ring Neighbors app for free, whether you're a Ring customer or not, a picture of your dog if it's missing, where it's missing from. We'll look for it with AI. So we'll look for literally that dog in that area where we think it could be missing. And then if we find it, so if like, let's say we find it on your camera out here, it's to say, Kate, like this dog that's missing looks like this dog in front of your house. And this is where the privacy thing is cool. You can, okay, I'm a bad person. I don't want to help with the dog in the neighborhood. That's fine. You can do that. Like we allow you to do that and no one will ever know and your privacy information is all fine. Or you can say like, yes, I want to contact my neighbor and say like, hey, person who lost their pet, like I think your dog is out in front of my home. Let me help you. And so with that, we're literally returning over one dog per day to their family, which is like, that's a family member, reuniting family members every day. And so that's something as an inventor, like, it's like, who cares if that's I think it will help us as a business because I would assume people will support Ring hearing this and want to have Ring cameras and like, but who cares? Like, it's so cool to be able to do that and reunite people with reunite kids with their dog. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah. And I feel like that also will, switch quickly from dogs to missing people to, so many different types of things that you can solve through facial recognition.
That's where we can do so much. We have to be careful. And this is each one with the privacy and how we do because we want to make sure that people feel comfortable and are comfortable and know that their camera, their data is there. So like we want to make sure of that. But I think there are ways like with the dog search party to invent where now we have this invention where it works, you get notified and you get to choose what to do with that. In the Brown shooting that just happened out in Rhode Island, we have a thing called community alerts. And so the police are able to do a community alert and they put an alert out saying, hey, like in this neighborhood, we want to get any video, any video that you have of sort of this stuff for this incident. And people were able to post in And some of the videos that were used came from that community alerts. And so again, like if they didn't respond, the police wouldn't even know who they asked. So that your privacy is 100%, you can stay anonymous. But the community, of course, wanted to help in something like that. And so, we can like help with that. So I think there's lots of ways that, again, bring the community together when you need to and do it in a way that's privacy centric. And that's like that's the total invention. Like that's how we can do it. And then when you don't want to, when you just want to stay on your own, it's your data, like of course, like it's yours and you can control it.
It's amazing to hear everything that Ring has transformed into, right? And especially now with everything you guys are doing with Amazon. But what was the initial idea?
I mean, the initial idea was really just like, the initial idea was I wasn't seeing packages. Like someone would come to the door, you had to sign up for a package. Like I literally wasn't notified. I couldn't, the doorbell wasn't working. And I'm like, I have this phone with me. It'd be great if it was on my phone. And so it was that simple. And then from there, I realized it gave, again, the first bit that was presence, like giving me presence to the home. Your home, I saw this when I was in the fires in the Palisades. Like, why would I stay back and try to like fight fire off my home? Is because like your home is a lot more than just a thing. Like it's meaningful. And so I think when you can attach your home, when technology can help sort of stay connected to your home, we travel more. I think it creates meaningful outcomes, whether it's with crime, safety, your kids coming home, like all these things.
Yeah. What would you say is your advice for people, for other inventors and other entrepreneurs trying to build something?
I think what I learned from Ring is like try to find something that benefits people that is infinite, meaning like making neighborhoods safer. You're never probably going to achieve that 100%. Like it's an infinite goal, but it's tangible. So you can understand like the steps to getting there. Like I know exactly what I'm gonna do over the next 12 months, 36 months, 5 years. Like I know with Ring exactly what to keep doing to try to get closer to that goal. But so it's very tangible, but it's also infinite. And so I think like the best thing you can do, business, whatever, is like find these missions, go to Mars, it's super tangible, but it's like a lot to get there, making neighborhoods safer.
Figure out the problems that you're facing that could be so simple, right? And maybe build for that, right? And didn't one of the Uber co-founders, like he wanted to invent Uber because he couldn't get any cars in San Francisco?
That's Garrett.
Like it's so simple.
Yeah, and it was like, here he is at a bar and like, it's like, but same thing, like he had a phone and it's like, why can't I just press a button on the phone? Like, why do I have to call someone and like,
right.
Hi? I mean, can you imagine that we used to have to call someone and tell them like our address and where we were, and they would like call someone and like tell you how long it was going to be. And like, we have this technology, we have this phone. And I think what you hit on is also like simple. Too often we overthink things and feel like unless it's complicated, it's not going to be good. It's almost like we have to work harder to have something be good. And if you look at the things that have been successful, yes, like implementing them is hard. I mean, Uber was not easy on the back end, but the concept is super easy. Ring is super easy. DoorDash, like go through these massive companies that have happened. And if you really look at like what's behind them, it's actually like very simple and tangible and understandable, like what it is, and anyone can understand it.
Do you feel like things also that seem complicated get easier when you just do them? For example, like building a company like Ring, which isn't just the security cam. You guys also have an app that connects to it, right? Like is a very seamless experience from setting it up to using it.
But I will say like complicated is like a trigger word for me. So
Okay.
when someone says to me like in anything, like this is complicated, I'm like, no, it's not. Because I do think you can simplify. I mean, it's like first principles is like you can simplify everything and you got to keep doing that. I mean, look at Steve Jobs at the iPhone of like the number of buttons that were on the phone before and after. Like you just have to keep, it's actually simple is hard. Like I will admit that. But I think when people think something's complicated, I think what a lot of times they're trying to do is almost like justify their own existence. And to me, most of the stuff boils down to, and again, look at like the last 10 years of massive trillion-dollar companies or, billion-dollar plus companies. They're pretty simple concepts. Now, of course, you get into AI or something and you're building algorithms, like that's science. That's a little bit different. But if you look at like the businesses that have come out that have really exploded, I'm wearing Aloe right now. Like Aloe is like, I mean,
We got to get you in Viore, but fair.
Viore is the same, but Viore is the same thing. I mean, it's, these like, I'm sure there's complexity in like what you choose and do, but like, it's absolutely understandable what to do and how to do it.
Yeah, it's true. It's like the concept of like building a car, right? It seems really complicated, but if you just follow the instructions, I'm sure it's not that bad.
You can absolutely build anything if you, and this is also where AI and YouTube have allowed us to learn things. Like we can now, like if you want to build anything, I mean, I do it all the time. AI is my back end for building stuff. So now with product where I used to have to like go to a team of my engineers and say, hey, could you look at this and distract them? I can now like almost build the product to 90 something % in a digital way and then go to them and say, hey, like, here's what I'm thinking. Does this work? What do you think?
What is your go-to AI platform?
I kind of jump around to everything. I use Amazon Q because that's one of our sort of internal ones. Gemini, Grok. I love ChatGPT, Claude for coding. I mean, and the most interesting thing about AI, and I've never seen this in my career, I would like to say I'm young, but I'm not that young, is the speed at which people are leapfrogging each other is something I've never seen before. Like someone's a leader, but only for like a few months. And then it's literally like something else comes out and it's twice as good as the other one. And then something else comes out, it's like, that's twice as good. So I'm actually not like wed to any single one because I keep seeing them leapfrog. And I want to be on the best one because to me, AI is just, the ability to have the smartest team in the world working for you. And so I want the smartest team at any time.
How do you feel like with Ring, you guys are starting to integrate AI?
The AI stuff, just like with everything we do, we try to really humanize like what's the purpose of it. And so the dog search party, we have a thing called smart video descriptions. So now if you think about pre-AI, the best in class way to manage your home was you get a motion alert and you're like, oh, let me check what that is. Like what we want with AI is we want to check what that is for you and then only tell you when we should tell you, like only bother you. And that doesn't mean it's a crime. It could be your kids coming home. It could be your, an animal that you like to see in the back, it could be like wildlife. I mean, there's lots of other reasons, but we want to boil it down so we're only telling you and it's something that you actually want to see. Smart video descriptions is one of our first sort of ways of getting there. And it's amazing. Like now in front of my house, I literally turned off motion alerts on a lot of my cameras. I had so many. Now I have it so that I get basically a single alert for the whole house. I'll get the description. So I'll say like, the gardeners are here, and then like, that's it. And I'm like, great. I know the gardeners are there. I don't even need to open the thing. I don't need to see the video.
So you're integrating it, again, in simple ways, but they do help the consumer.
And trying to, I think where we can use AI is like, where can we help AI to assist people? Like, how can we build AI in a way that is like, that's what AI should be working for us.
Yeah, making our lives easier.
That's it. To me, it's like anything. It's like a dishwasher. Like I didn't live before dishwashers, but I wouldn't want to. Like I like the fact that I can like, the hardest thing I have to do is put the thing into the dishwasher, which my wife will tell you sometimes I miss. We all do.
Yep.
But I mean, the dishwasher, like what an amazing thing. And I think, to that level, that's what AI should be doing for us in all of these places. It's like, it should be watching our cameras and then telling us when we need to do something or asking us when we need to do something, but taking that load down on us so we can go and enjoy and do other things, give us time back.
So backing up a little bit, when you went on Shark Tank in 2013, so you started your business in 2011, am I getting that right?
I started in 2011, yeah.
Okay, so from 2011 to then 2013, you go on Shark Tank. What was it like pitching your business on live TV, and what was the state of Ring at the time?
So it was actually called Doorbot at the time. It was crazy, the whole Shark Tank thing. I mean, I wrote a book called Ding Dong, which I feel like is the proper name for my book of me. But which has like kind of, and Shark Tank is just so integrated because it is such a big part of the story. But, for me at that point, going on Shark Tank, because it's funny now, people are like, oh, you must be so happy you never took money from them. And it's like, I was a nobody in a garage. I needed money at the time. Going on Shark Tank was like an amateur athlete going to the Olympics. I thought it was the biggest thing ever. I mean, I thought I had like peaked in my career going on Shark Tank. I thought that was the biggest thing I'll ever do. I mean, that was huge to be on Shark Tank. So I was nervous. I trained for it. I built the set in my backyard, and I literally had neighbors come over and ask me questions. I mean, I trained for that thing literally how an Olympian would train for like a swimming event.
What was the hardest part?
I think the hardest part is how when you actually are doing like the tank, like you do your little pitch, and then the way they ask questions, they all just like fire questions at you at the same time. And so how you manage that, because if you just stop answering Mark Cuban, for example, and you just talk to Barbara, Mark will just get like sort of like, he'll just be like, okay, I'm done. And he'll stop asking questions, which that like turns to, it's like, how do you integrate like when Mark says something and Barbara, and it's like, they're different, but you try to like, and again, this is what you train for, is like, you integrated it. So it's like, oh, Barbara, like what you said is kind of like what Mark was asking. And then like what Robert was saying. And so you keep trying to like bring it in so everyone's involved, because you're not also guaranteed to get on air with Shark Tank unless the episode is good. It is TV. And so there's a percentage, and it's pretty high, of people that go on, do a taping, and actually don't go on air, which I needed the money, and I also needed the credibility and awareness of being on Shark Tank.
Right, because, we talked about this on the run too, but it's like you did end up leaving Shark Tank, not taking the offer that you got. But what were your expectations going into the show? Like, did you think somebody was going to bite?
I literally drove there, and I'm like, I'm going to do my thing. Mark Cuban's going to just be like, Jamie, here's the money. I'm going to like walk off. And I think like this, entrepreneurs, inventors, entrepreneurs, like we have to have this reality distortion thing. Like we have to just like believe some of this stuff. And so like I did, like I truly just like believed that Mark was going to just like, whatever you want, Jamie, like this is a great product. Like I'm your partner. And I'm like, oh my God, Mark Cuban, like, thank you. Like we're going to be best friends. And I finished my thing, and Mark Cuban like almost immediately is like, Jamie, great, thanks, but I'm out. And I was, oh no. And then from there, basically everyone else was out. And then Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, kind of gave me a deal, but it was a deal that like no human could ever take. And so I had to pass on that. And I left there without money that I truly needed at the time. I mean, I left there like in shambles. I was in tears when I left the show driving. And, it is almost sadly, it's like in Los Angeles. I live in Los Angeles. So I didn't even have I didn't have even like the decency of being able to like spend a night in a hotel room to like, cry alone. Like I had to go back to like my family immediately from this taping of being, dejected from Shark Tank.
Which is hard, because it's like you go on that show, it's hard when things don't meet your expectations for anything in life, right? But on top of that, you're doing it on such a public stage. It's super vulnerable for you to be up there pitching your business, your baby that you're working so hard on. So what was it like for you coming back from that rejection? Did it fuel you?
I mean, it's like the running thing. You just, you get back up and you just like put your shoes on and you go back out and go for another run the next day. And you just keep going. The other thing, and this is not, this is definitely not advice. I was too far into the business. Like I had put all my money in. So I couldn't stop. I think when I left Shark Tank, if for whatever reason, if I somehow had some magic wand that said like, you can have all the money back you put in and you're fine, and like no harm, no foul, like you can just walk away, I probably would have walked away from the business at that time. It was so hard. We were so down in the hole in money. I just didn't see a path out. And I think if the Shark Tank episode had not aired when it did, which was in November, going into the holidays, we had just got our inventory started coming in so we could sell it. I don't think the company could have made it. We were too close to the edge.
It's interesting that even though the Sharks didn't move forward with the business, that just getting that publicity on air was enough for consumers to see the product, see your business, and say, wait, I actually want that.
Yeah, I mean, it ended up being, and I definitely did not do it for this. I really did it for the money at the time. Like I needed the money. I mean, at the time, if you had said you can choose getting the money or being on air, I probably would have chose the money. But being on air on Shark Tank at that time, the credibility, the awareness, the ratings, I mean, definitely the impact of it was at least a Super Bowl ad for a company that was in a garage. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, I remember going to a retailer and having a meeting with a very low level person at the retailer in like the worst little conference room that they put like the vendor that doesn't deserve to be there kind of conference room. Like, like you are not you're struggling at that time. And the CEO of that retailer heard I was there and had watched Shark Tank. I was like, oh, I want to meet that person. And it's like no, I was never gonna meet that CEO of that retailer ever. And because of Shark Tank, I had like a kind of all of a sudden like this B-level, little bit of celebrity kind of something that I could then leverage into like getting myself out there. So not only did it help with actually selling product to the consumer, but it also helped of getting myself to be able to, I realized I could open some doors. Like, hi, I'm Jamie. I was on Shark Tank. Can I meet with you? And at the time, again, big show. It was, gave you just, again, some edge. You always need some edge.
Yes, something. And I feel like it's hard because it's like a little bit of a double-edged sword where you're like, yeah, like I didn't end up going forward with any of the sharks, but I was still on the show. You might have seen me, and it did, create a little bit of momentum.
Funny is, and I would have thought that like not getting a deal kind of would have killed me, but in the sort of world of Hollywood and influencers and whatever, that media, like just being on it at that time was big enough that it gave us that bump that we needed. It gave me like just, again, a slight edge over everything else. Like if there was, if a retailer had to look at 5 different products coming in, one of them is also on Shark Tank, it was like, let me meet with them. Just a little edge.
And, pretty soon after, Doorbot skyrocketed. Then you rebranded to Ring. And one of your first investors was Richard Branson.
Yeah.
How did you get in touch with Richard Branson?
So I installed a ring, like one of the new rings that had just come out on a guy's house who I kind of knew. He's an investor-y type person. And I was going everywhere. I was anyone I could get to install a ring on their house or whatever to show them Ring. And the guy I installed it with went to the island, to Richard Branson's island, like that next week. And they're at dinner and Richard Branson says like, what are some interesting things you're seeing right now? And I love doing Richard Branson. I'm terrible at it, but it's funny. He thinks it's funny, I hope. And so the guy said, oh my God, I literally, this package got delivered today. And look, like, here's the video of the person, like, and I was able to talk to him and tell him to put it around the side. And I live in San Francisco. It got stolen, and Richard's like, oh, I want to give it to my friends for the holidays. And so can you put me in touch? And so I literally get this email from my buddy Wes Chan, and he said, like, Richard wants to buy rings for his friends for the holidays. And at the time, we were really small, and people kept being like, oh, if I buy 3 rings, can I get a discount? And I'd be like, oh my God, my life. It's like, I'm like trying to build this business, and it's like 3 rings, and I'm like giving like $30 off. Like, this is what I'm doing during the day. And I'm like, oh, Richard wants to, great. Like your friend Richard, like I can't wait to get his holiday gifts done. And then I realized it was Richard Branson. I was like, holy shit, obviously. And we started emailing back and forth. And I said, well, your friends are gonna be really happy because not only is it really cool, but it also helps make their neighborhood safer. And Richard said, like, what do you mean? And I said, oh, well, and I was like, obviously like a fisherman, like hooking the fish. And I said, oh, well, we just stopped this crime which happened just in the valley, like the day before. We had these videos of it. So I sent it to Richard, and he's like, I'd love to invest. And so I said, well, we're about to close a round, so you have to like hurry up. And so he sent his guy. This was on a Friday, and so that weekend, his investment guy came. Was not stoked to be sent to the doorbell company for the weekend, but he came and loved it. And yeah, Richard invested, and it was an amazing, like, again, we had never spoken openly about the mission outside of the internal company. So when I'd hire people, we talked about the mission, but the mission always felt like you don't want to lose trust with someone. And so if you're like making doorbells and you're a tiny little company, to say we're going to make neighborhoods safer, it just doesn't sound believable. So I'd always tell people, we got to wait till we get bigger. Like we have to get some proof. We have to like show people what we're doing. We can't just tell them. And when Richard invested, I said to Richard, I said, like, listen, and Richard believed it, and we had some stuff. I said, if you basically help us get this message out, like, that's credible. And so Richard wrote this blog post when he invested of like, a doorbell that can, make neighborhoods safer. Like, this is one or something. And that really took us, again, a huge like step up in our level, because now people saw like what it was really doing, and that, again, changed people's perspective on the product.
Yeah, and it went from Richard Branson to Goldman Sachs gave you guys a massive investment, to all these other companies.
Shaquille O'Neal.
Shaq was
Nas,
an early,
the rapper.
Oh, I love that.
Oh yeah, Nas the rapper. I mean, it is surreal. Like, it's like we're from Jersey. I think everyone, like, are just like, it's a lot of the times it's just out of body. like you start even talking about it, it's like, yeah, Richard Branson and Goldman Sachs and like all these things. It's like, I can't even, it's unimaginable.
It's unimaginable, but I do feel like growing up in Jersey, like obviously the level of success that you achieved is incredible. And it's like, so few people get to the level that you got to. But I also do feel like growing up in Jersey, there were a lot of people that didn't go to the best schools or universities that still made it in really unique ways. And I remember like, I grew up with somebody whose dad owned a bunch of parking garages in New York, and his family was really successful, or just, anyways, I just feel like New Jersey, you grow up with a little bit of grit.
I think grit is like, that was Ring. Like Ring didn't make it because we were like better, smarter. We made it because we worked harder. We hired people off of Craigslist. Like we just fought hard. We had a great concept, great mission, and we all just like fought hard for it. Like we didn't have some special technology. We didn't have patents protecting us. We didn't have like people from some Ivy League school that figured this out. I'm not from some, it's like, we just fought hard. And I think you're right. It's like, that's Jersey. And I actually believe because of AI democratizing information, I think grit is going to be so much more important in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Like the companies that are going to come out.
Sweat equity.
Much more based on sweat equity and grit than they are on sort of this like internal protective group of people that are able to like kind of do it.
Absolutely. And I think like obviously you can, be really successful coming from an Ivy League school, but I invest in people that put the sweat equity in every day.
All sweat equity.
Yeah, and today we put a lot of sweat into our
equity.
video, and then now we sat down. Speaking of grit, it must have felt so good in 2018 after you guys sold to Amazon to get that call from the Shark Tank producer asking you to come back as a guest shark.
That was, yeah. I mean, again, like goals. Like people set goals, and I think goals can be ceilings. Like you could never set a goal when you went on Shark Tank of you're going to be so successful that you're going to be invited back on the show as a shark. Like there's things that you could just never imagine achieving. It was crazy. Like it was just, I mean, here's something that I went on as a contestant and I thought I was like the penultimate. Like I had just like, completed everything I needed to do in my life. And then I go back on and I'm a shark on Shark Tank. And it was insane. And it was, again, another like out of body surreal experience.
Had you seen any of the sharks over the course of those years where, Ring is skyrocketing post being rejected?
I ran into Damon at Home Shopping Network. We were both doing like episodes there. He was selling some stuff. So I kind of a little bit, but not really. And going back on and then you're in the green room with them, it's like all of a sudden it switched to like, I'm kind of one of them. I'm still friends with a lot of them and actually pretty close. I went to Robert Herjavaec's 60th birthday with, and like I've actually become pretty close friends with them. And it's a great show. They're like a family, but yeah, I mean, to be able to have like crossed over into that is, it's kind of amazing.
Did you feel like you had a little bit of an edge walking in where you were like, what could have been, guys?
It was such a weird day walking in there. I mean, it was like intimidating at the same time as like, yeah, I felt like I deserved to be there, but it's also just so, I mean, it's like the last time I was there, I was literally like, I could feel the PTSD of the emotions of needing to be there, needing this. And it was very like this weird set of emotions of both sides of it. And then sitting there, I mean, it was just cool. I mean, it's some things I don't think we have good words for. And I don't think we have good words for like when you go from being like, guy in garage, kid in garage to, to going on Shark Tank, to building this thing, to impacting people's neighborhoods, to them being back on Shark Tank. Like all those things are surreal and unreal.
Yeah, it's wild what good ideas can snowball into. We've interviewed a lot of founders. Obviously, selling a business is a really emotional thing that you go through. It's your baby, and all of a sudden now it's owned by another company. So what was it like for you to sell Ring? How did you know it was the right time? Did you have any regrets?
So I go into it in the book a lot. Like there's a crazy story like right before we almost went out of business right before we sold, which is so crazy because it's like true. Like we really, like the difference of 60 days was like personally being, I don't know about bankrupt, but like having no money to selling the company for $1.15 billion like in 60 days. So it was pretty crazy. Like that was pretty wild. But I mean, Amazon, why I wanted to sell to Amazon, and I'm sort of fortunate to, is, it was a founder-led company with Jeff. And they still have let me, I mean, it's been almost 8 years now. And they've really let me I wasn't done with the business, but the business needed to have a bigger, we needed like some support. Like we just were growing so fast. And so that's what happened. Like I was really, excited that I was able to sort of do that, like bring a business from, that was kind of growing fast and was kind of on a crazy trajectory. And then, sell it to a company that allows us to support it and keep building it. And it's, gone from there.
What was the story? What was going on? How were you guys almost bankrupt prior to selling?
So we were doing really well, and the business was growing fast. Fast growing hardware companies are using a lot of cash. So going from that year, we sold in end of 2017. We did 480 million in 2017. We did 170 million the year before, which means we were ordering hundreds of millions of dollars of parts going into this. So we didn't have the cash. So everything was kind of upfronted because it was so much growth. We were hiring people to go ahead of the growth. Customer service, when you're growing that fast, you have to hire way ahead of the actual sales. So that's really tough on your cash. We got into a bit of a lawsuit with ADT, which, was partially my fault probably. I ended up hiring some people. They told me I shouldn't. I told them I should. They sued me.
What is ADT?
It's the largest, it was the largest home security company. They do alarms and stuff. They probably may be the largest in alarm. But they sued us. They won an injunction against this alarm right while we were raising money. It sort of while we're going into the holidays. So if you think about the softest, the place where we're the most fragile, any company, is right when you're going into the holidays, because maximum amount of product in the market. So, but zero, cash. So you're waiting for all the holiday cash to come back because you got to sell it. So you've bought all this inventory, put it out into the retailers, sort of everything's sitting in warehouses, but the cash doesn't come back. So it's from a cash cycle, that's probably the bottom of your cash is them. We were raising money at that time, so we thought we were okay. We get this injunction, that goes away. Now we're negative $70 million. And the only way to stay alive at that is not pay bills. So we start now not paying our manufacturers. It got really dark for it was a short period, and then we were able to settle the lawsuit with ADT, which was great. And literally we settled it, sold. So within really from the injunction happening to selling the company, I think was 60 days. So for the injunction happens, the company basically goes negative 70, there's no possible, we're dead, to we settle the lawsuit and then sign the term sheet for 1.15 billion. And that was a 60-day period. So and it's not even that unique the circumstances maybe are unique, but you talk to a lot of entrepreneurs and it's crazy. You say, oh, you sold your company for 2 billion. Yeah. And we almost went out of business 3 weeks before because it's wow.
It makes sense because also companies that have physical products, and Jeremy always talks to it about, makes them always should I make an activewear brand? And he's like, no, because it's the cash flow is tough.
And growth, people don't think about this because it sounds good. When you say the company went from 3 million, 30 million, 170, 480, it does, but it is good. It's good to have sales, but if you can only sell what you have and you can only have what you've bought probably 6 to 9 to 12 months before. So you're buying, if you're going from 170 to 480, you're buying $480 million worth of product when you did 170. How do you know it's going to grow like that? You can think it's going to grow like that. You can kind of project out, but if the growth stops, you now all of a sudden have $200 million of product that you didn't sell. How do you survive that? And so it's very scary versus if you grew slower, then the cash comes back, you order, it's kind of you can stay more profitable. So I probably looking back, it's interesting. I probably could have personally made more money and been a bigger company in a way if we actually had gone slower. Now you don't obviously you can't tell what's going on. You don't know. All of a sudden this industry is growing fast. We're worried if we let sort of anyone, if we sort of take the gas off, we'll just be maybe it is a winner takes all market. It might have been. So you don't know, but yeah, looking back, it's maybe if we just actually grown slower, it would have been better because we would have used less cash.
We've interviewed a lot of founders on the show, and a lot of them, when we talk about selling their businesses, a lot of people say that, one of the best things about selling was that they're finally able to focus on the things that they love about building a business. So what have you been able to focus on at Amazon that, gets you excited where you don't have to worry about
and
the
that's
numbers?
So true. If you're a real entrepreneur, you're not necessarily in it for the money. I mean, you obviously want to make some success. Like, I think that's fair, but yeah, you want to like build stuff. And so selling to Amazon, instead of spending my time going bankrupt and trying to raise money and trying to figure out the finances, like all of that sort of was taken care of. And now I could focus on inventions and product. And we've come out with more products since we sold to Amazon by like 100x. The things like the dog search party, all those things is like those are the things I can focus on. Like now I can focus on the one we're coming out with right now, which is Firewatch. So now with the fires in the Palisades, that I experienced, I was in there and I'm able to like invent something and actually build it and put it out instead of just focusing on how we finance our business. And yeah, it has allowed me to focus on inventing 90% of my time, and 10% is in like sort of other stuff. Whereas probably before I sold it, I was 90% other stuff working on that and 10% invention.
Yeah, it must feel so good to finally be able to just be creative.
It feels great. Like it is great. And especially a company like Amazon that allows it, like sort of celebrates founders. They've done it now with Audible and IMDb, and you see like all these companies, Zappos, with sadly Tony Hsieh passed away, but like, Tony was there till the end and able to still sort of run Zappos and run it in the way he wanted to. And so Amazon's been an incredible place for entrepreneurs to go to take their businesses to that next level.
We touched on the Palisades during our run. And guys, for a little bit of context, when Jamie and I were trying to figure out where we should do our run, he was like, well, would you want to do the run in the Palisades with me? Because this is where I live. And I actually do a run every day through the fire zones. And I was like, oh, like, as much, it would be an awesome video, of course, to see.
Well, you're
it.
Still invited to do it if we want to do another
I
run.
do think we have to do it at some point.
I'm happy to take you.
Because I want to see, we talked about this on the run, but I want to see the fire line that you guys kind of, where you were protecting the neighborhood. But for, just for our listeners that haven't seen the run, can you talk a little bit about your, fire run that you do and kind of what happened to your
Yeah, so I live in the Palisades. Fire burned in the back of our house. We came back into like, as the fire was happening, we went back in and I ended up like, I basically walked in the back of the property's on fire, and it was kind of crazy, and helped put it out. A bunch of neighbors came back and helped. And so we kind of held the fire line on our neighborhood. We're fortunate that our neighborhood was on, like, I'll say kind of a farther side of the fire. So it wasn't in like the first wave of just getting hit. And then also we had water still at our house. So our house was like on the other side of the Palisades, and you heard a lot about like there's an area that didn't have any water. And so, so we kind of did that. And so I've been in the fire zone. We live back there. So it's like from the back of my house back is the fire. And now that things are like kind of cleaned up and it's kind of starting to grow back. I mean, it's still you can see there's just houses are gone, but I go on my run that I used to do. And so I have all these loops that I do through the woods. There's great trails, and then also through some of the town. And so it's kind of, I mean, it's weird because I run through this area and where there was houses, and now there's actually a bunch of coyotes that live in there, which they don't seem to bother me. So it's not that, but it's like, it is a eerie, almost like a movie or like a TV show of like apocalypse. Like you're running through this area and there's like a couple houses that are still standing. There's a couple houses being built, but like hundreds of, lots that are just sort of cleared and just have like grass growing on them. And the sidewalks are kind of broken now, and the streets are kind of like broken from just all this stuff, and coyotes there. And it's just like it is like post-apocalypse kind of thing.
It is. It's sad. And you said your son, 17, Oliver, that you raised, that grew up in the Palisades. And I have friends that grew up in the Palisades, and, not only did their childhood homes burn down, but it's like the neighborhood restaurants they would go to, this elementary schools. It's crazy.
It was a community. I mean, the whole, like I think 9 schools burned. I mean, like it was the homes, I mean, it was, I think, terrible. My home did not burn down, but like, I think most people I've talked to agree that like the schools and the town burning down, like that was also like just because it was a town, kids were in it, and like my son grew up in it, and it's just like it really is terrible. I think it will come back. I do believe in the resilience of people, and it's been amazing like watching it, kind of start to come back, but it's going to take a long time because it's just literally just a sheer how large scale that is. I mean, I think 7,000 homes or something.
What has it been like being there since the fires? Like, did you guys get out for a little bit?
So we got out. We didn't have power for a month, so we were basically out of the house until the power came back. We were one of the first people back. I think we just like felt like we had to go back. Like it was kind of like we're gonna do it. So we've been back now since a month after the fire. It's from our house. If we drive, because we're on the edge, if we drive sort of towards the Santa Monica side, so if we drive like north, like we don't see any fire. So what's nice, like for my son and for like, we can kind of go in and out without being in it. But when we go through the fire zone, and when I really like spend time in the fire zone, like I drove someone around the other day and kind of showed them like the whole Palisades, like I don't sleep that night. Like it is still for me when I really go into it. And when I run, like I kind of run through it and it's like, but like when I really think about it, I still can't imagine that it happened. Like it's so massive and devastating that it's like something like my brain can't get around. And so, yeah, like when I really go up there, if I took you up there and like really showed you the whole thing, like it does, like I can feel it like affect me.
Oh yeah.
Cause it's just like, it just doesn't like rationally like that, like a city burning down just doesn't make sense. Like it just doesn't like to.
And I mean, we weren't in the Palisades, we were in Runyon, we were in the house that we're currently filming this in, but even, I mean, and this was a completely different situation, but we, during the Palisades fires, there were fires kind of all over the city. And we talked about the fires, the app that you guys are creating, and then the Watch Duty app and how you guys are integrating. But when we were here in Runyon, I remember we were sitting at our kitchen table, which is just to the left of us. And we started smelling the smoke. It smells like a bonfire when this is happening. And we kind of walk outside and look up, and it looked like a volcano had erupted. It was the scary. And I mean, I'm from New Jersey. I'm not used to like earthquakes or like wildfires. It's just not something that happens in those areas. And to see it was surreal. Like it was out of a horror movie.
It's surreal. It's a horror movie.
But you were in it, which is crazy.
We're in it. And I think, the thing that I saw that was in it is that like if it's information, like what I saw is that like it's very hard, especially as these fires get bigger, to understand like where it is. They spread, like I saw how like it would blow and you'd see these embers go forever. And then they'd like start a fire many houses down, like in a bush or something. So the fire was like jumping. And that's what with this fire watch that we are launching now, or launched with Watch Duty, is that now all the Ring customers, so we had 10,000 cameras in just in the Palisades area. And so allowing people to turn those cameras on and feed that into Watch Duty during the natural disaster, during the fire, so that they can get accurate information of, oh, the fire jumped and it's now over here, but it's not over here, because it's just as important to know where it's not than where it is. If we can more accurately do that, hopefully we can better deploy the resources we have, and then need less resources to stop the fire, which means if there's other fires happening, like all this stuff, because it just becomes like everyone's kind of, the fog of war, everyone's running around. And so like, we're really hoping that, Ring can be one part now of helping to solve these fires by making it more efficient in how we use the resources during them.
Yeah, it's necessary. And yeah, even because with Watch Duty, when we were here, things weren't being updated in real time. And like the Runyon fire ended up being okay. They were able to get it under control before it reached any of the houses. But I think the scariest thing about it was we smelt it immediately because it was coming straight onto our street. If it had reached the houses, it would have come in this direction. The scariest thing about it was we were driving out. We were able to get out. We alerted our neighbors because we had like a neighborhood kind of meeting. And Jeremy, again, was like the captain. And my husband was the captain in this situation. I was a disaster. So you don't want to be with me in an emergency situation. But he was great alerting the neighbors, getting everybody out of their houses, especially the elderly people that live on our block. But as we were driving out and kind of missing, I'm sure, all the traffic and the gridlock traffic that occurred as soon as people realized Runyon was on fire, Watch Duty hadn't even updated yet that Runyon was on fire. So this idea.
And Watch Duty. So for like people that are not in fire areas, probably don't even know what Watch Duty is. But like Watch Duty is this app. It's a non-for-profit. And what they do is they take all the information from like radio calls and 911 calls, and they basically try to help put this map together that's as real time as you can. But again, as real time as you can, because like the data they're getting is like literally they're like listening to radio calls and listening to all this stuff and trying to like, but it is the best. If you went to the command center in the fires, in these big fires, they actually have Watch Duty up. Like it is so what you're saying is like not actually that updated. That's like the best information currently that we have, which is why if we can feed information then from AI and from Ring into it, then we can create hopefully a much more real-time and accurate, like to the millimeter fire map. And then you know exactly where it is again. And it's like for people to evacuate, they know where it is. And for deploying resources, we know where it is. And that's, certainly I hope another fire does not happen. I think they will based on what we're seeing. And I hope that with technology, whether it's Ring, Fire, Watch Duty, other things that people are building, I do hope we're able to mitigate so that in 3, 5, 10 years, a fire like what happened in the Palisades just doesn't have that impact, because it's not even like the money, it's just the impact to children and communities, and like I mean people died, like it's terrible.
I had somebody say this to me the other day when we were doing an interview, and it was that this concept of, obviously you're a serial entrepreneur, you're somebody that's always loved inventing things, building things. But if you can think back to your childhood and some of the interests that you had when you were younger, do you feel like this idea for Ring was maybe always there based on the interests that you've always had?
I think the tinker in me was always there. I was always like remote control cars and building stuff in my basement. Like I was always tinkering. And then I had like that part was there. And then the other part was like, I always was helping people. Like I always have liked helping people. I was a volunteer fireman as a kid. Like I remember I wasn't even that big, but like I remember like sticking up for kids who were like getting bullied. I got bullied, but like then like I always have had a lot of empathy. And so I think like when you take empathy and invention, like Ring is the ultimate company, because making neighborhoods safer is the empathy part, and then how you do it is the inventor. And so yeah, I do think that like looking back, it was all there. It wasn't as obvious. I wish it was, because I would have like maybe started it when I was 20 instead of way later. But I do think Ring like fits sort of my superpowers.
And, even we were talking about the town in Missouri that you've helped kind of redevelop by building a bar and building a coffee shop, and even in Nantucket, like building a coffee shop in Nantucket. Like you are somebody that likes helping people. Yeah.
And it's like, I like to, if I see a problem, it's like, I want to fix it. And so again, I put like my inventor brain and my, it's like, if you can take like sort of a little bit of capital invention, and then like, I think it's like empathy of like, I want to help, it's amazing like what you can do. The problem is it also like, I end up doing too much, and like, I'm always like, I sort of go over my skis. Like I sometimes I have too much going on.
Well, you said this earlier, and you also said it on the Bethany Frankel podcast from 4 years ago that I listened to yesterday. But it is that you don't like setting goals because you believe that they create ceilings. So can you break that down for us?
So I think like if you look at Ring, like making neighborhoods safer it's not an achievable goal. It's a mission that's not achievable. It's infinite. So I love setting things that are infinite for like my team, for myself, so that because I think when you do like sales goals, if I had told my head of sales, let's sell, our first year, $50 million of Ring, he would have gotten to $50 million and been like, we did it. Instead, we did like 100 million. We did way more than anyone could have thought of, because we didn't have a sales goal. We had a making neighborhood safer goal. And when when Don Hicks, this guy that, basically created our entire sales thing, he'd call me and be like, we just closed whatever. And I'm like, okay, great. Can you close? And I'd be like, the next one, it was like, whereas if you had a goal, our goal probably would have been to close like one retailer this year. And instead it's like, once we close one, I'm like, why don't you close 5 more? And then it was 5. I'm like, why don't you close 10 more? And so I do think we cap ourselves out by trying to set too many goals before we know even what we can do. And so it's not that you don't have like a North Star. I think set the North Star, but make it something that's unachievable, because you will think bigger. You'll go bigger. Like it's no one could have ever imagined Ring getting to where it is. And so if we had set goals, it would have been the wrong goals.
Right. How do you view luck and entrepreneurship?
I view luck. I mean, I view luck as lottery tickets. And so if you bought every single lottery ticket, like the Powerball is just 1.7 billion or something. So if you bought every combination, you'd win 100%. And so each lottery ticket I think you get by working, call it an hour. So for every hour you work, you get another lottery ticket, which means that someone who works 1 hour, like the person who like has an idea, works 1 hour and sells it for $1 billion happens because they get one lottery ticket. And it turns out like one lottery ticket could win. But on average, us like normal people need more lottery tickets to win, like to be more likely to win. And so for Ring, certainly we weren't guaranteed to have the exit, but we worked so hard. We had so many lottery tickets. I think had luck on our side. And so luck's never guaranteed, but I do think the harder you work, the more you work, the more you do, I think it's more likely that you're going to get a lottery ticket that pays off.
Right. Because I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs and successful people talk about having blind faith, but I think blind faith needs to be met with hard work, right?
Yeah, and I think you have to have a bit of blind faith because you can't sort of say like, 100% I'm going to make $1 billion. I'm going to do this, be the largest home security company in the world and make $1 billion and do all that stuff. Like you have to like to do that, you have to have a little bit of, you have to be a little crazy. Like you have to have this reality distortion. And so you do need to work hard. You do need blind faith, but you do need luck because there are things, I mean, look at like how COVID affected businesses plus and minus. Like some businesses got affected in a positive way, some in negative. Like no one knew it was coming. And so that's just like, it's lucky for some businesses and not like, being careful with how like, obviously it affected humans' lives, but there are businesses that it actually benefited how their business was set up.
Did COVID benefit Ring?
In the end, it was interesting. I thought sales were just going to go to everyone's we sell a product for home security. You're now in your home. So I'm like, this thing's going to zero. Like I thought sales were going to go literally to zero. It turned out that when people were in their home, they got kind of bored and they wanted to, it was like a time to trick your home out. Like I'm going to put cameras up. I'm going to do this. And we got a lot of deliveries started like DoorDash. And so they wanted to see the DoorDash person coming. So it actually, I wouldn't say it like benefited, but it didn't harm it in the way we thought it was going to.
Right. And also consumer shopping was like up, right? People were spending like crazy.
Because you were stuck in your home. So you started like consumer shopping and
girls, remember when we bought all that tie-dye? Yeah. So your wife's name is Erin.
Erin.
Yeah. Erin. So Erin is a movie producer.
She is.
Or director.
She's a producer.
Okay. Movie producer. And she's behind Alvin and the Chipmunks, Fault in Our Stars.
Yeah. She's done some incredible movies. Her People We Meet on Vacation is out right now on Netflix. So give it a view. It's actually a great movie.
So cool that you guys are both so successful in your own right in completely different industries.
Which is interesting because it is like totally, like Hollywood and what I do and what she does, like there's no overlap. Like we don't know any of the same people. We don't work with any of the same people. The only thing that maybe is that they both need money to do. But like other than that, like there's really no commonality. Which is in some ways is fun because we don't have we're not competing with each other in any way, which I think could be tough. I think depending on relationships, I think it can work sometimes where people work in the same thing. I think sometimes it could be pretty hard. But it has been amazing kind of watching her, become so successful in what she's doing and make such a big impact and kind of me being able to do stuff on my side. And yeah.
She must have been so excited when the project you were working on in the garage finally turned into something.
I'd gone from being a serial entrepreneur and like doing some stuff and people thought I was like semi-respectable to all of a sudden I'm like in my garage and building things and hacking on this stuff. And, people, I kind of thought that I lost my mind. My wife was at the time starting to become successful in Hollywood doing her thing, which allowed me to go into the garage. She wasn't making like a ton of money, but it was enough to like have some salary coming in, which was super great. Like I couldn't have done it without her. But definitely like she would tell people, oh yeah, he's up there building this, Pokety Poke. It's a conference call thing. And they're like, what?
Pokety Poke.
And then I remember showing them the first Doorbot. And I remember this one person like literally just laughing and saying, that's the ugliest thing I've ever seen. Ended up working out. So it's fine. But yeah, it is funny when you're doing this stuff. It's also something I found, like if you're an entrepreneur, if you're an inventor, a lot of times the things that if you tell people about and they're like, that's awesome, you should totally do that. That's almost a bad like indicator. Like it's almost better when someone's like, I don't get it. That's terrible. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure. Like there's something, because a real invention, something that's going to change the world is probably something people don't see and understand at the time. Like I'm going to do food delivery. And we're gonna do it really big. And it's like food delivery, like that's not a good business. It's like DoorDash, it's like, it's okay. So I think it's a lot of times, like it's not that easy to see what will be like the next big thing. And when you say to someone like, this is what I'm working on, they're like it's a lot of times when I'm talking about an idea and someone says like, I love that. I'm like, oh no, it's not gonna work then.
But that's so interesting.
It's too obvious.
It's interesting though, because it's like we're solving these simple problems, but people don't see it at
like
first.
Uber. And again, if Uber was so obvious, then everyone would have copied it immediately. Like if Ring was so obvious, then everyone would have copied it immediately. Like DoorDash. I mean, like look at just all these companies that have occurred over the last few years that, again, that you could have copied. I mean, I'd say like maybe OpenAI and ChatGPT and stuff, like a little bit more sciencey. But if you look at like a lot of products that have come out that someone just could have copied like immediately, and they just didn't because no one saw it. Like it took time to see it.
How did it affect your mental when you started seeing companies copy what you were doing?
So I am like a barbell of fear and execution. And so that just drives my fear. And so I had this fear that we were going to get, that someone else was going to take this market that was kind of mine and I was figuring out and I was building. And so that drove me to do, like, it's probably why we grew so fast, is I was like unwilling to like take the gas off. Like I would see, and we had competitors at every single year, every single turn, people were coming out with stuff, but we kept the gas on.
What would you tell yourself 14 years ago?
I'd like want to give myself a big hug and just be like, it's going to be okay. Because there were so many nights. I mean, I literally remember like waking up and trying not to wake my wife up, like sort of crying in bed, like, because I'm like, I have ruined everything. Like this thing is not going to work. Like I put all our money into it. It's a freaking doorbell. Like, what did I do? And it's like, those were like those times. And I, in some ways I'm glad I didn't know because I worked harder because of that. I invented harder. I like pushed things, but I do like, it would have been nice if someone just tapped me on the shoulder and be like, go back to sleep. Like, it's going to be okay. Just keep working. And yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, you can never have that mentality because then you wouldn't have tried as hard.
But then that's the thing is like, if I had known that, like, I don't think you could have tried as hard. Like you can't, like, it's like you like, you know, pressure makes diamonds. And so like we had a lot of pressure, so we made a big diamond. She was the most excited when we moved out of the garage into an office because she said that the bathroom smelled like a men's gym. And she said like, we need to get out of the house. We had a really small house at the time. We got up to, I think, 10 people at the house like every day. Even my son's room, like we started putting a desk in his room. So people were working in his room. Like he would go to preschool and like literally there's like people working in his room. I mean, we just again, it just grew so fast and we just took everything over as we were going. So I think, yeah, but no, she's certainly very proud of Ring and what we were able to do as a, like, cause it really is like a family. Like it took, you know, it is the family that made that. I mean,
oh yeah. I mean, I know you mentioned before we started running that you guys had just wrapped filming your Super Bowl commercial. As somebody in the movie industry, she must think it's so cool that her husband's doing Super Bowl commercials.
She kind of shakes her head at that one. She's like, I mean, but the Super Bowl commercial and, you know, you'll all have to see it. It's a really, I'm really proud of what we were able to do for the Super Bowl commercial. We always do all of our stuff in-house. So,
Are you in it?
Concepting, creative is all in-house. Like I won't reveal.
Oh, give us a
I won't
teaser.
reveal anything,
Give
but I
us a
will say
teaser.
it's gonna be great. I think it brings the emotion of what we can do at Ring, and how we can bring neighborhoods together. And I think it's a really positive. It's obviously a commercial for a company, so like there's definitely like that. But I also think it has a really positive message, and I'm super proud of what we're gonna be able to put out there.
Any celeb sightings in the commercial?
Not gonna.
Is Shaq
there's
making an appearance in the Ring?
No celebs in our commercial, so it's all,
Okay.
all homegrown on this one. And we've had celebs in the past, so it's not that we wouldn't do it. But
At what point in the Super Bowl is it going to play?
I think I want to say it was third quarter. I gotta look. Yeah,
It's a good placement, right?
it is. Oh, we got a good place. We got a good place. We bought it really early.
Okay. What's the best placement in the Super Bowl commercials? Is it right before halftime?
So there's all sorts of like game theory on this. Obviously, it's like expensive. I think it really has to do with how the game's going. Because like if it's tied, people are coming on to watch it. If it's like a blowout, the third quarter could be terrible. I think it's a little bit of a crapshoot. I think you want to be sort of somewhere in like probably second or third quarter. Right, would be my guess. Maybe first quarter. Fourth quarter is just dangerous because if it's a blowout, people are going to stop watching it possibly. But you know, people do watch it now for the commercials. So I think
by the way, I really only watch.
So I think like actually like that might be keeping people on there. So I don't even know that, and I do think this year's going to be crazy. These AI companies with all the money that's out there. In the past, when we've seen that these sort of things have grown, like, you know, these industries have grown where they have a lot of money. Super Bowl becomes like a big thing for that. So I would not be surprised if we see some crazy commercials, crazy celebs, I think there could be some incredible money put into the Super Bowl.
I cannot wait to see what people do for Super Bowl ads the year that Taylor Swift is the halftime show. And I'm very excited for Bad Bunny, do not get me wrong, but the year that it's Taylor Swift,
All right.
next level. That
Swifties.
ring ad's going to have
Swifties.
Shaq. It's going to have.
It'll be big.
Yeah,
It will
it'll be big. Let's give one final piece of advice to our listeners that you just want everybody to hear that's maybe starting out in their career or building something.
I think the best thing is like work on something that matters to you, that you think will matter to the world, because money in the end, like salary, all this stuff, no matter how much you make, you're always going to want more. And so the one thing that can be fulfilling is doing something that's going to make the world better and that you feel that you care about enough to go to like wake up every morning and go put your time into.
What are some final things that we can shout out that you guys are working on, that you're excited about, maybe in your personal life?
I mean, I did do a book, Ding Dong. Pretty excited about that.
I'm excited to read it based on some of the teasers we got.
It's pretty good. It's a self-deprecating story of how we built this thing. So it's pretty good grit. You know, you'll like it. It's a good Jersey book. And so I'm super proud about that. Super proud of the stuff we're doing in neighborhoods. You know, Firewatch that we just launched, the dog finding stuff, dog search party, all those things. Like I'm really excited about like what we're going to be able to do, and over the next year, especially with AI, how we're going to be able to roll stuff out that's really going to help people to be safer in their neighborhoods, work together in their neighborhoods in a safer and better way, and sort of hopefully elevate our neighborhoods. Because if we do that, like, you know, kids growing up in safer neighborhoods have better outcomes. Like there's so many great follow-on things that happen when we do this.
Well, Jamie, thank you so much for being on Post Run High with me. Thank you for running with us today.
Thank you.
It's been an honor. You know, I want to do one final question. Who do you challenge to do a run and post-run chat with me next?
I'm going to challenge Robert Herjavec.
Ooh, Rob, it's on.